your legal counsel. Passed by the Harrison County Board of Education on July 16, 2012. Also, as you're called to speak, you will have 5 minutes. It's posted up there and it'll run down at the time. We appreciate and ask you to hold to those 5 minutes as we have several delegations here tonight. So, and just before we start, we'd like to recognize Delegate Terry Waxman. Please stand up, our Delegate of Harrison County. With that having been said, first off is Amy Zanino. This is in regard to Common Core.
Mr. Hogue and school board members, my name is Amy Zanino. I am here tonight to address this body regarding the implementation of Common Core standards in smarter balance testing in our schools. Members, have you researched the so-called rigorous standards that have been placed upon our children and our schools? Did you know what you were accepting when you accepted this socialistic agenda that is disguised as education? Are you oblivious or are you complicit in the largest attempt to hijack public education and our children in the history of the United States? Until 7 days ago, I believed myself to be an aware parent that believed my children were flourishing in school. They have always been distinguished students that look forward to going to school. One of my children was in this room tonight to be distinguished for his excellence in music. This same child is also currently being punished according to your insubordination policy for my choice as his mother to not allow him to participate in this travesty that we are calling rigorous standards of education and smarter balance testing. Common Core applies the principle that every child must learn in the same way. This principle is grossly unrealistic. It is an undisputed fact that not all children learn in the same way, or at the same level of mastery, or at the same time. Simply because a child comes through the classroom doors already well above the testing standard, he should not be deemed as no longer requiring an education. My son takes great pride in helping others, but has reached a point where he feels unable to advance. Children who want to learn cannot because they must wait for the collected group. Children who need extra time and attention cannot receive it because teachers are too overwhelmed, making sure every child in their class meets the standards, so as not to be deemed a failure in teaching. I ask you members of this board, does this sound like an education success story or a horrible attempt at education where money and standards are the goal? Instead of educated, fully realized children, we have frustrated children that are learning nothing. This board has been concerned all year about being in school for the required 180 days. Are you equally concerned about the lack of teaching that is taking place during these coming 35 days it will take to complete the test? I have done my homework over these last 7 days to sort out for myself what is Common Core and adaptive smarter balance testing, only to find answers that have left me shocked and disgusted. Why does the education of our children require a massive database known as Zoom West Virginia to collect information on our children and track them from the cradle to the grave? Why will parents, teachers, and the very children they have collected this information on never be able to see it? Why must national sexuality standards be incorporated into every aspect of the curriculum, including math, English language arts, science, and social studies? Why should they be taught these things in school at all? Why are my children's trusted teachers not permitted to see the test questions? Why has this curriculum been kept a secret from the very people on the front lines of education, the parents and the teachers? I have realized the answer to this question is because this curriculum does not withstand scrutiny, and it certainly is not rigorous. It is the dumbing down of our children. Parents and teachers have been purposely left in the dark on the very matter that is their specialty, the children. Common Core is not confusing and it is not difficult because it is more complex. It is confusing and difficult because it was slapped together without proper review or input from educators in order to receive Race to the Top funding from the 2009 stimulus bill that dangled grant money like a carrot on a stick. Common Core is fragmented, skips large chunks of fundamental educational concepts. It is mostly age and grade level inappropriate, completely disregarding everything experts have known about childhood cognitive behavior and development. When the money was granted, this curriculum was yet to be written. Politicians and big business are turning our classrooms into their newest profit venture. Common Core is garbage. Our children should be learning more, not less. I believe that traditional school proved successful for those sitting on this board and in this room. Do our children deserve less than what we were provided? I demand that the Harrison County Board of Education, as elected officials that represent we the people, you say no to Common Core for Harrison County and ultimately no to Common Core in West Virginia. Thank you for
Next up is Eli Wagner with regard to Common Core curriculum and testing.
I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak tonight. Just to give you an idea of my age, I'm not against standardized testing. I took standardized testing when Mr. Devano's father began as principal at West Milford Elementary. My problem with the Smarter Balance test is the federal database. If we teach our children anything, one thing we need to teach them is how to manage risk. I know personally, Blue Cross Blue Shield's database was hacked recently. Myself, my wife, our children, our information was all vulnerable. You weigh the risk of not having health insurance versus the risk of that database being hacked. You can't go without health insurance. It's just too much of a risk. The risk of having to find another way to evaluate our education system and not place our children in a federalized database does not outweigh the risk of their information being available to the government at any time for any agenda they see fit. That's my problem with the testing, the federalized database. I'm not against standardized testing. It is a very good diagnostic tool that the educators and the students can use. I am against the Common Core curriculum, however. And I am against the scare tactics and the harassment that children are receiving over not taking the test, when it's not the children's decision, it's the parents' decision. We opted our 9-year-old daughter out of the test. The teachers and the principal at the school are making comments to her to the nature of, we're sorry your mother's putting you through this. You need to do what you want to do, not what your parents tell you to do. That undermines my authority as a parent. I wrote an email to the teacher and to Mr. Manchin saying I believe that violates the harassment and the bullying policy of the county. Tomorrow, that will have been a week ago. The morning after I read the email, I received a read receipt from the principal. No further comments. No denial of the allegations whatsoever. I haven't received so much as a read receipt from Mr. Manchin yet. I don't know if he read the email. I don't know if he deleted it. Don't know if he cares. I do not want my children bullied over a decision I made. I'll give you an example of why I don't like the Common Core. I'm an engineer. I do math for a living. My daughter brings home a problem. You have 9 jelly beans. You have 3 more yellow jelly beans than you have red jelly beans. How many red jelly beans do you have? The proper way to do that problem is algebraically. You set the number of red jelly beans to x, you set the number of yellow jelly beans to x plus 3. You write an equation that says x plus 3 equals 9. And you solve algebraically and you find out that there are 3 red jelly beans and 6 yellow. Their instructions to solve that problem were to make a guess at 2 numbers that add up to be 9. And to see if the difference between those numbers is 3. Now you find me one engineer at NASA that will tell you they make a guess. and I'll drop my argument. They use sound mathematical principles that were developed hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. The testing itself, if you review how the testing works, the test changes depending on the child's answer. The scoring of that test, there must be algorithms involved that we can't even imagine. Do you think they made guesses? I think not. It's the equivalent of taking children that are learning to walk and giving them crutches and knowing at some point you're going to take the crutches away. Children that already could walk without the crutches are being held back. The children that need them, that's fine, that's wonderful. But you're holding, at the cost of bringing other students up to speed, you are holding back students that could flourish. And that's just wrong. It's a travesty, it's wrong to our children, and it's wrong to the country.
Thank you. Next up is Dawn Myers, in regard to test and Common Core. Dawn Myers.
My name is Don Myers, and I am Citizens for Changes. And the parents of Harrison County and the citizens of West Virginia are really concerned about the welfare of our kids. It's come to a point that the Common Core was adopted before it was ever made by Mr. Manchin. Yes, Joe adopted it before it was ever even brought up to the table because he wanted the money. And then Gail Manchin made it to where even the teachers couldn't go talk to Mrs. Skolosky and find out what the truth was. And then this Mr. Manchin comes out and threatens parents and children. Well, I will tell you this. We as parents do not have to tolerate it. And I don't think we should. I stand before you tonight to ask you to sign the petition over here for the removal and the prosecution of Mr. Manchin for threatening our kids. And I ask for the arrest and the prosecution of anybody else that threatens our kids. And if you all feel the need to threaten and intimidate people, try me. Because I don't take it. And I'm not going to take it, and you're not doing it to my kids, period. And I don't care if you like it. But here's the facts. You work for us. We're not taking it. We're not laying down. We're not beating your dogs, and our kids are not going to be your guinea pigs. Because we don't have to take it. Here's the facts. If you don't like the way it is, okay, quit threatening our teachers. We as parents stand behind our teachers. But we have a problem there. And that problem is, we have you all threatening our teachers. Now here's the thing. Our teachers are the first line of defense to protect our kids. When you take away the first line of defense, you make our kids vulnerable to anything. We don't have Common Core. We have Communist Core. There is no right or wrong in it. There's to do as you're told and keep your mouth shut. Well, guess what? I ain't keeping my mouth shut. I will be at the prosecuting attorney's office tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to ask for this arrest if anybody was involved. I ask for any of you parents that knows those names to bring them forwards. If they are threatening your kids, I ask you to come and join me. We got to put a stop to it because if we allow it today, it's going to continue tomorrow. And let's get to some facts. Okay? Common Core's a failure. It's failed all over the country. Our kids are going to lack math, science, and English even after they finish it. That's why Mr. Obama is offering 2-year free college to give our kids a 12-year education in 14 years. Wake up and quit being stupid. Our teachers know better, and so do you. If you are going to be our representative, represent us and our kids. If you're not going to be our representative, pack your stuff and get out of our county before we throw you out. This is our county. We're not tolerating communism, and we're not tolerating traitors no more. This is our county. This is our kids. We brought them here. We expect them to be educated. Now let's talk about that smarter test. Okay, what's used to take it? So they can put a database on our kids to follow them for their life. That's called communism. If there's any doubt in your mind, ask Hitler. He did the same thing. Now here's what it breaks down to. Get your shit together. We're no longer taking it. I don't care whether you like me. I'm not here to be liked. But I will tell you this. I will get results. If you don't like what I have to say, you're really going to dislike what I do next. Because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to demand the removal of all the rest of the traitors in our system. Because it's time. It's time we the people and we the parents took back our kids. Who has the right to tell our kids what to do? We don't as parents, according to these guys. We don't have to take that. We are the parents. We tell our kids what to do. And we punish our kids for not doing it. And if you punish one of my kids, expect me to knock on your door. And I don't care whether you like it or not. And I'm willing to do the time. Here's what it boils down to. Y'all become traitors. Now think about it. Your job is to protect our kids. When you're sitting there doing nothing and not defending our kids, you are the problem, not the solution. And when you are getting to the point that when our teachers are threatening our kids and telling them this and telling them that, they become the problem too, not the solution. Quit being a deadbeat. We pay your salary, we pay your job. Get up and do what you're supposed to do. Educate our kids. Now I have a question to ask you all. All the kids in public school got to take the test according to Mr. Manchin, but every kid that goes to private school is exempt. They are discriminating against our kids, and it won't be tolerated. And I'll be back.
Next up, Eric Medea.
I want to say good evening to the Board of Education here, Dr. Manchin. I appreciate you giving me the time to speak. My name is Eric Medea. My son is a sophomore at Liberty High School. I am speaking on behalf of many concerned parents in Harrison County. A lot of us are here tonight to share our feelings and our frustrations concerning the Smarter Balance testing currently being conducted in our schools. During the course of the past few weeks, we as parents have witnessed some rather disturbing behavior at the individual schools and, quite frankly, from the County Board of Education and the State Board of Education as well. And it has been centered on those of us who wish to opt our children out of the Smarter Balance testing. Our reasons for opting out are clear. The test is obtusely time-consuming. The students use a week to prepare for the test, and then 2 weeks or better to complete the test. One of the questions we ask as parents is my child actually being taught anything during this period of time, 3 weeks? The test is an inaccurate representation of a child's, and quite frankly as well, our educators' aptitude. We feel, again, this is, we want to say thank you to our educators. I came up in this education system and it served me well my whole life. So thank you to our educators, but we feel that this test is not an accurate representation of their abilities as educators. We feel our children are being put into a box when not all children test at that level, at the same level. We feel that our educators are being unfairly assessed in the same manner. The test is not part of the actual curriculum. In other words, it's not education. It has no bearing on a child's graduation. It has no bearing on the child's grades, nor should it. Nor should it. We feel that the testing and the subsequent Common Core standards are detrimental to our children. There is a massive collection of data, and it's outrageous. And obviously, we're not going to see it idly by while this is implemented. The purpose of my attendance here tonight, though, is not to debate the merits of Common Core, which have already been adopted. The purpose is to let this board formally know that we as parents still have rights to make decisions that we feel are in the best interests of our children. We did not cede these rights to the school system. I don't remember ceding my rights to the school system for my child. Our children are not wards of the state when they're in school. They're still our children. So what are we as parents deciding to do that is so bad, that has brought all this here tonight? We decide to opt our children out of a non-graded, inconsequential, standardized test. We're not asking that our children be allowed to break the law. I never asked that my child break the law. I've never actually asked that my child opt out of a history test because I didn't like the teacher. That's part of his education. This test is not. To date, we have not received anything from the state or the county, as a matter of fact, quite the opposite, that says there should be a punishment doled out for a child having their parents, not them, opt them out of this test. I want you to ask yourselves a question. We have been told our children are being punished under the insubordination clause. Use common sense, please, with me for 1 minute. Who's being insubordinate? My child or his parent? The logical conclusion, let's get to the logical point, I'm the one that made that decision. So I guess if you want to suspend someone, call my boss and suspend me from work, because my child has nothing to do with it. What have we received for deciding to opt our children out? Our children have been threatened with suspension, in school, out of school, after school detention. They've been told that they would miss out on things like the Promise Scholarship. I actually looked it up. There is no provision for the Promise Scholarship tied to these tests. We have heard things that our children have been given things like 10% extra credit on their grades. Nice, pretty t-shirts that said I'm taking the test. All this stuff plays on our children. We've also, seen our children used against us for our decision by the very system that we fund. So the question that is begged to be asked tonight, why do the schools feel the need to behave in this manner? Why so much angst over this test? What does our education system become? A place of half-truths, threatening? Or should it be a place of safety and learning? What actual education is happening for the 3 or 4 weeks that our children are testing? And the $24 million question tonight, folks, is this. Do we as parents retain our rights when our children are in the public school system? We feel that you, the Board of Education, are the ones that answer these questions. You are elected officials. We as citizens, we hired you and we fund you. So we call for the immediate removal of all punishments improperly enforced on our children due to this opt-out, and that all parents retain the right to opt their children out of this testing now